Hey best friends, thank you for joining us here at Beauty and Not the Beast. For all y'all that already know that we're basically breaking down everyone's testimony. So if y'all want to get right into it, go ahead and fast forward this video past the next 2 to 3 minutes. If you're new here, please just take a minute and listen to the whole video.
Welcome to Beauty and Not the Beast, where conversations flowing hearts and throw. We talk about life and love so sweet, and all the shows we love to binge and tweet. From relationships to social media trends, we share it all, our hearts we blend. Celebrity gossip and juicy rumors, we dish it all, no holds barred, no humor. So join us here in this magical place where laughter and love always embrace. Welcome to Beauty and Not the Beast, y'all.
You guys can check our timeline, so make sure you follow us and turn your notification on, because we're breaking down each individual that the state called to the stand testimony. We're going to show their full testimony. We're going to post it individually so that it's convenient, so that you guys can catch up with exactly what was said and what is going on with the Ziyah Harris trial before it starts March 2025. Let's get it. All right, you guys, before we press play on this testimony, let me just give you a quick recap. All right, so this trial is going to include a 13-year-old girl by the name of Ziyah Harris, a grown man by the name of Jarvis Butts, and a whole lot of adults who failed Ziyah. Now, on January the 9th, 2024, 13-year-old Ziyah Harris got off her school bus only to never be seen again. Ziyah was reported missing January the 9th by her grandmother, the same grandmother who adopted her. That grandmother's name, Annetta Harris. Now, Miss Harris said it wasn't like her to go missing, especially from after school. It wasn't like her at all. But that same grandmother did not report Ziyah as missing until the next morning. Now, she didn't report her missing to the police. She actually waited. The school bus usually lets the kids out around 3 o'clock. She waited until the next morning after she dropped the other kids off at school. She went to Ziyah's school and let them know that Ziyah did not get off the bus yesterday. Now, I don't know about you, but that's a red flag on the play, because if you say it's not in her nature to go missing, and the bus usually gets out around 3:10, if your child's not there by the normal time, 3:30, especially 4 o'clock, I am calling the police. I am calling to school to see, did my child get on the bus first and what happened? But you don't even call the school. You wait until the next day to go and question the school or let them know, whatever. Anywho, let's continue. Just giving a little background here. So there's video that shows Ziyah leaving the school. There's video of her getting off the bus. The prosecution team says that Ziyah met up with Jarvis and his co-worker, aka his business partner, King. King's real name is Cardell Wright. Now, I'm going to just insert this here that I feel like he could have had something to do with this as well. Okay? I do not understand why these two grown men met up with Ziyah and took her back to their auto repair shop. Okay? Now, throughout this, you will hear testimony from another witness that says that Jarvis, King, and Ziyah visit her home, which is about 30 minutes away from the auto repair shop. They visit her home to come look at a vehicle that she was having trouble with, okay? She states that they were there anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour. But she also confirms all three of them left together. Okay? Now, the prosecution team throughout this investigation finds out that Jarvis has been sending inappropriate sexual text messages to Ziyah. Now, in return, Ziyah, this poor baby, was also sending him messages. You know why? Because he has groomed her. Ziyah believes that they're in a relationship. The text messages between these two started as far back as September 2022. Now, if you ask me, that's all we have a paper trail for. Maybe Ziyah didn't have a phone before she was 11 years old, and he was doing this to her way before then. Who knows? But you guys, there's your recap. Again, follow us, hit the like. I have took time to break down each individual's testimony so that I can give you guys an individual video so that it's convenient that we watch the testimonies and we try to put the pieces together. So when this trial starts March 2025, we are ready. All right. I hope you guys have a lovely day. I'm about to press play.
Fisher, I agree with the people that this case is distinguishable. This is a case regarding a trial. And the one thing I had highlighted in pink is the quote, "In this case, there was no physical evidence such as bloodstains or a weapon leading defendant to Joyce's death. In this case, we don't have the same facts or circumstances." I do agree this is a circumstantial case, and circumstantial evidence is sufficient for a bind over and even conviction. Today is January 9th, 2025, exactly 1 year, from the day Ziyah Harris disappeared. Before I get into the charges, and the main charge of premeditated first-degree murder, I have to speak on Ziyah Harris and the community who failed her. And I am only presented with certain evidence. I don't know the whole story. The attorneys know more than me. The family knows more than me. But from what I have heard over the last 4 days and 5 days total, is that several people failed her. I don't know where her mother is. I don't know anything other than that she was forced to live in a home where she was not protected or given the adequate attention and love. I don't know where her father is. I don't have any mention of him in her life, no presence. To Cordell, aka King, and all the men who saw Jarvis Butts hanging out and always around these young girls, including Ziyah, and his 9-year-old daughter going up to the shop to clean up his shop. The school counselor who never showed up, or the person who was supposed to show up if that counselor was absent, after Ziyah was on the floor on the day she went missing, saying that she needed to speak to someone and speak to a counselor. There's no mention of CPS, but I wonder what their involvement was over the years, because this was not just a 1-year thing. There are text messages at least from 2022. To her adoptive grandmother, Annette Harris, whose testimony, in my opinion, was very questionable. I understand why the people put her on the stand to establish Ziyah's residence and the houses on Bedford and the regular routine, to establish also that Ziyah was not a runaway child, that she was not a bad kid. I do believe she adopted Ziyah. I do believe that she had 6 kids in the house. I believe that Ziyah had on a dark hoodie the day she went missing, and that she had on red and black Nikes that day. What is hard to believe is that the defendant never came into the house as she testified. And there was also a minor that testified that he did as well. Text messages that show between him and Ziyah that he did in the basement, saying he was going to the shower, stealing her panties. He was always lurking around that house and asking for Janiyah and Zaniyah, from what I know. I even thought about the breakfast routine and saying that all the kids like eating breakfast at school. Did they have a choice? I don't know. But to always send those girls up there to clean up the shop raises questions. And how were there 2 women in that house who have birthed children themselves, who did not notice that Ziyah was pregnant, and I believe she was, and not having her period anymore. But then after hearing text messages today, begging Jarvis for pads as if she didn't have anyone else to give them for her. And what stood out the most was when Annette Harris stood on the stand, and she learned around 6 p.m. that Ziyah did not come home from school, and said she looked around for her and decided to wait until the next morning to call the police. Without a tear, without emotion, or any expression of being devastated. And to her Aunt Shannon, who also showed no emotion, expression of being devastated from Ziyah going missing. She stated that she had friends help look for Ziyah, but was directed to just wait until the morning to call the police. A grown woman who likely suspected something strange going on didn't feel the need to call the police either. They were both able to go to sleep at night without hearing from Ziyah or having any indication that she was coming home that night. And of course, the defendant, who I will get to in a minute. I don't know who else failed Ziyah, but the community did. As far as the people establishing probable cause, I will focus on count 1, as it's been stated that there is no contention with counts 2 and 3. In count 3, I will amend based off of the motion and the testimony I heard that Ziyah was 12 and not 13 at the time that Jarvis Butts had sexual intercourse with her. The prosecution is correct. You do not have to have a body to establish first-degree premeditated murder. It would have been a much shorter exam had her body been found, but this is where we are. In the last 365 days, no text messages. We all heard today and yesterday that she was very active and frequently texted. No social media for a year. We heard through testimony that she was also active on social media. No phone calls, which she was also able to do according to testimony. No physical sighting of her by anyone. She never came back to school. No one has seen her. Medical records dated from July 2014 to October 2023 indicated that she had no life-threatening medical issues that would lead to a natural cause of death. The black hoodie found in the area of 7 Muhlenberg with her DNA and blood on it. The holes in the hoodie consistent with some sort of struggle, violence, or weapon being used. And we know that there were no holes in that hoodie when she wore it to school. We saw a picture of her in a black hoodie on her last day that everyone saw her. I do believe her grandma testified truthfully about the sweatshirt that she had on and that it was practically new. And the border agent who said that no evidence of animals would have destroyed the clothing or the shoes to possibly lead to animals tearing up that hoodie. The clear glasses found in the blue Nissan the day after she went missing. The behavior of the defendant when he snatched those glasses. They looked exactly like the glasses she had on in her last picture, according to the witness. The shoes that her brother described as the same shoes that were found also in the area of 7 Muhlenberg near the hoodie. While this is still probable cause, the evidence all points to Jarvis Butts. His locations, him being seen with her last, the abortion searches, the abrupt silence between the two of them in text messages, and the constant lies he told throughout the entire investigation. And they were proven to be lies with text messages and other testimony. We may never know what happened, but from what I heard today and over the last 4 or 5 days, it appears he intended to perform what he thought was a do-it-yourself abortion on Ziyah. They went south, and instead of seeking medical attention for her, he intentionally killed her and tried his best to cover it up. As much as I want her to be alive today, there is at least probable cause to show and believe that she's dead and that she was murdered by Jarvis Butts. Mr. Butts, stand up. You've been sitting over there for 4 days with your head down, hidden between and behind your attorneys with your mask on and taking vigorous notes. I want you to pay attention and listen to everything I have to say. I have been trying to figure out for the last 5 days, you. At one point I thought you were cognitively impaired in the beginning of this exam. And then maybe you had the brain of a 10-year-old and that's why you were doing such things. But as I heard more and more testimony, you're just a true definition of a pedophile. Watching you laugh and brag about all the women you have with different women and the children and the girlfriends and making babies to groom them and having them in your presence, cleaning up, quote, cleaning up your shop, and the little girls around you has landed you here today. You groomed Ziyah. You played mind games with her. We all heard that. You controlled her emotionally. She was exposed to so much at such a young age. The text messages between you two were disgusting to hear. And to think that she had you saved in her phone as bae for life. Ziyah deserves so much more. And while I mentioned other people that failed her, Jarvis Butts, you are the monster in this whole picture. She did deserve love from her parents and everyone who was in her life. She was ignored, she was neglected, and you took complete advantage of that. She wanted someone to love her, and she will never know what that feels like. Your children deserve more. As much as defense counsel has raised issues on count 1, all that has done is raise the question of fact for the trier of fact, which means that this will be for a jury or a judge to hear in Third Circuit. I pray for the healing of all the victims and the young girls and possibly boys who have come into contact with you. As a community, we should look at this case as a prime example of how much work we have to do when it comes to protecting our children and especially our black girls. I pray for closure and healing for all those who have been traumatized by you. And for you, Jarvis Butts, I wish you a speedy trial and that justice be delivered. Your bind over date is January 16th at 9 o'clock a.m. Anything else for the record?
Not for the people, Judge. Thank you.
Not for the facts. Thank you, Judge.
Do the right thing and tell us where she's at, please. I'm sorry, Judge. Just do it, Jarvis.
Where is she at, Jarvis?
Just tell us.
You don't gotta know where
Judge, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to disrespect your court.
Will you all please turn off the camera, please?